So today's video is a small video where I'll be discussing the different reasons for the shift in the demand and supply curves. So we already know that there are situations when the set par conditions, the ceteris paribus conditions, which are under general situations of laws of demand and supply, are held constant. But there might be situations when those ceteris paribus conditions can change, and that essentially leads to the individual shifting his or her own demand curve, not just moving along the demand curve. Because the market demand curve holds other things constant, but it need not be stable over time. So those ceteris paribus conditions can change. That is not unusual. If something happens to alter the quantity demanded at any given price, then the demand curve or the supply curve might change. So that happens the same in case of demand curve and supply curve. What we'll be doing is we'll essentially be trying to find out the various reasons in which the demand curve and the supply curve can be shifted from one to the other. So let's first look at the demand curve first. So one of the most important reasons why the demand curve can shift to the left or to the right is essentially income. So what would happen to your demand for any good if your income falls? So when your income falls, you essentially have less amount of money at your hand, so you can spend little. So you can spend a little amount of money as compared to before. So you would obviously reduce the consumption of most of the goods, and what happens is essentially the demand of each of the good falls. So when the demand for a good falls, when income falls, then the good is called a normal good. There are other kinds of goods, such as when I'm talking about income effect in general, there are other goods such as inferior goods, for which if my income increases, I will be demanding more of those goods. I won't go into the details, but there are situations when due to a change in the income pattern of an individual, there might result in entire shifts of the demand curve. So let's consider a situation, let's consider a hypothetical situation. Your income per month reduces. So when that happens, we know that the demand curve is downward sloping. So when there is a decrease in the income ceteris paribus condition, the demand curve, the downward sloping demand curve, shifts to the, let me just draw it for you. So if this is my axis, so the demand curve, that is, let's say the original demand curve, when the income falls, the demand curve shifts to the left. So there is an inward shift in the demand curve. Again, when the income rises, then my demand curve will shift to the right. So there's an outward or an outward shift of the demand curve. The next point that I can think of is the price of related goods. So when I'm talking about price of related goods, essentially what I mean is there are other goods in the market as well. So I'm not just considering one single good. So when I'm talking about, let's say, tea, for example, so that is, I am considering price of tea on the vertical axis and quantity demanded of tea on the horizontal axis. So let's say the price of coffee falls. Now, if price of coffee falls, that means coffee is more affordable to me. So there might be a situation where even though the price of tea is constant, since the price of coffee falls, I'll be consuming more of coffee. So my consumption of tea falls. So at the same price point, my consumption of tea falls, given the ceteris paribus conditions are changing. So based on the related goods, in case of substitutes, we have a situation where if the price of the substitute good falls, then my consumption of the good will fall. And if the price of the substitute good rises, then the consumption of the good itself will also rise. So there's a positive relationship. Again, when we consider complementary goods, so here, since I have considered tea, let's consider sugar. So if the price of sugar falls, then I'll be increasing my consumption of tea. So in this case, we are talking about tea and sugar, and in this case, they are complementary goods. So when the price of a complementary goods goes up, in this case, when the price of sugar goes up, the quantity demanded of the good itself goes down. And when the price of a complementary good goes down, the relevant good itself, its demand goes up. So there's an inverse relationship, the same as the original law of demand. So that's when I'm talking about the price of related goods, complementary goods and substitute goods. The other thing is taste. We can't essentially quantify taste as such, but let's say one fine morning, I really want to have some more coffee than usual. So that is the example that I had taken when I was talking about the demand curve shifts. So on a winter day, you might want more coffee than on a summer day. So tastes play a great role in the shifts of the demand curve. And the final would be expectations. That's probably not the final. I think I have one more to go. Yeah. So expectations also play a great role. So let's say you expect that the prices will rise in the future. That is, you expect that you will have low amount of income at hand. So at the given price, you might be willing to buy more, or essentially in order to stock up for the future. So given the same price, you might change your quantity demanded when you have different expectations regarding the future, not just based on prices, but based on other things as well. So expectations also play a major role. And the final reason for this would be the number of buyers in the market. So essentially, if there are more number of buyers in the market, we learn about something called perfect competition. So when there are a lot of buyers in the market, each buyer has a lower contribution to the entirety of the market. So essentially, when there are a lot of buyers, there are a lot of people who are willing to pay for that good. So there is a lot of competition among the buyers, and as a result, there are chances that the prices might go up. So let's say you want to buy something and I want to buy something as well. And if both of us approach a seller at the same time, the seller will always try to maximize his or her own profit or revenue. So he'll keep on increasing the prices until we are at a satiation point. We'll talk about this in our future videos, but number of buyers also play a great role in shifting the demand curve. So given the same price, I might be willing to buy more, considering the situation that both of us are there in the market and competing for the buying of the same good. So that's how the shifts of the demand curve works. Now, the same logic can be applied to supply curve. So there might be different input prices concerned. So if the input price goes up, then I might be willing to change the amount of goods that I am supplying. So that is my supply curve can shift accordingly. That is, most of the time what happens is if there's an increase in the input prices, there are chances that I'll be earning less revenue, I'll be earning less profit. So I might be willing to sell less in the market. So there are chances that if the input prices go up, then my supply curve, essentially what happens is, if this is my supply curve, upward sloping supply curve, if the input prices increase, there are chances that my supply curve will shift inward to the left. Or if input prices go down, there are chances that I'll increase my supply at every same particular price point. I'll increase the quantity supplied, and essentially there's an outward or a rightward shift in the supply curve. The next is technology. Again, it's basically the same thing. If my technology allows me to supply more, then I will supply more. And if my technology is outdated, backdated, or if it's primitive, then I'll be supplying less. So those are essentially changes in the supply of a good at the same price point. So that results in shifts in the supply curve. The next is expectation. So the basic concept remains the same as the demand curve scenario. So if I think that the price of a good that I am selling will increase in the future, I might be willing to hold back. That is where the concept of black market comes from. So I'm hoarding stuff so that I can sell them later at a higher price. So I might be willing to supply less if I think that the price of the good will rise in the future. So those expectations can alter my supply curve or supply pattern as well. And the final is a number of sellers. Again, so essentially what happens is I can connect these 2 points together and I can connect these 2 points together. So the concept remains the same. Number of sellers can affect. So if there are 2 sellers competing for selling their good to the same buyer, both of them might be willing to go as low as possible. They might try to reduce the price level, or what they can do is, given the same price level, they might be willing to sell more amount of money. So that might also shift their supply curve. So there are reasons why the supply curve, these are the reasons essentially why the demand curve or the supply curve can shift leftwards, that is inwards, or rightwards, which is essentially up.